What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to yet another video. It is your boy RickyMoto, and today we are seated in this beautiful metallic silver 2013 Porsche Boxster base. Shot a little review video on it, showing you guys the quirks and the features and the different things that this car is all about. But today we're going to be going on a little drive and we're going to be getting some coffee. So let's drive around, let's talk about the car and see what this Boxster is all about. So right off the bat, we are cruising out of this parking lot. This car is fully stock, by the way, so the exhaust is nice and quiet. It's not screaming loud or anything like that. Car is still stock height, but it definitely is quite low compared to your average car, so you don't want to scrape or anything like that. So let's talk about the specs of this car. It has a 2.7 liter flat six motor and a PDK transmission, which has nice little paddle shifters, the instant quick shifts that although it doesn't really make that fart noise just because this thing is NA, is not turboed, but it does have a little bit of a grunt when you get on it and shift. Just navigating through this parking lot is super comfortable and easy. That's what I love about this car. It's that even though it's a Porsche, it is not super stiff. My M4 is actually even stiffer than this car, and that car is like almost too stiff to drive. Every little crack, every little bump is just slamming on you. And at first I thought, okay, maybe that car just has really low profile tires, so there's not really much bounciness. But this car has the same exact wheel setup, or similar, so to speak. Tires on this car are 235, 3520, and that's very low profile. The M4 also has 20-inch wheels on it with 35 sidewalls, so they're very similar in that sense where you don't have a lot of tire meat on the side. But even though we have a very low profile setup on this car, it doesn't really feel all that stiff. It doesn't really hit bumps that hard. It's at like the right amount of suspension, so to speak, where it's very comfortable, yet you still get that sporty feel. We are seated pretty low. I can tell that my eye line is like right where other cars' bumpers are at. Their taillights actually go above my head, which is pretty wild. We're gonna try to mess around with this climate control here because it is getting kind of hot in here. It's a little bit outdated, I'm not gonna lie, but it does work. Now, I don't know if this car is just old, but I do notice the climate control does take a little bit of a while to kick on. Like I turned on the AC and so far it's blowing out like warm air, and then now it's getting cold. So it's a little bit delayed. Currently, I'm clocked at 17.6 miles per gallon, which is combined with highway and city. I did so far like a pretty even amount of highway and city, and so I think that's a pretty accurate, MPG. Now, of course, that all depends on how you drive. If you're really pushing the car, you're obviously gonna get a lower number. I kind of drive normal to medium aggressive, so to speak, where I am, pushing it a little bit, here and there. But for the most part, I'm pretty calm. So yeah, with 17 miles per gallon, it's not the greatest. I mean, this is not like an economy car where you're getting 30, 40 miles per gallon. But honestly, this car gets better fuel mileage than the M4. I'm getting like 9 miles per gallon on that car, which is not so great. And it does use 93 or premium fuel. So, if you are thinking about this car and, kind of doing your budget, it is gonna dig a hole in your wallet if you're always driving this thing hard. I love the steering feel in this car. It's a little bit on the heavier side compared to your average car, or some people like to call it stiff. Basically, it's just you need to put a little bit more effort into turning the car just because the steering wheel is a little bit more weighted, so to speak. I do like a heavier steering feel just because I feel like I have better control of the car. If it's too loose or floppy, I feel like the car starts to sway a lot. And there's not really much play in it, which is nice. A lot of cars, even Beamers, there's a little bit of play in steering wheels, which get kind of annoying for me because I like to basically turn where I want to go instead of having like a small delay. So the steering input is very, very sharp. That's the first thing I noticed getting into this car. Basically, wherever you point the steering wheel is exactly where you're gonna go, which you should, you don't want to have it a little bit off or whatnot. I think something that kind of helps with that is the car being very short. With a shorter wheelbase, you do get a much more sharper steering angle, meaning you can make, U-turns easier. You don't have to do a 3-point turn. It makes parking a lot easier. The parking on this car is a little bit tricky because there is no backup camera because it is an older model. And the thing about the visibility with the mirrors and even the rear view mirror especially, it's really, really hard to see. So when you're backing up in this car, it does take a little bit of effort, and sometimes I'm not used to how short this car is that when I park at a parking space backing in, I end up being so far out because I can't really see the back, and I'm so used to driving a much longer car. Taking turns on this car is just so nice. You know, the steering, so precise, so sharp, man. This car just feels so well balanced. You know, it doesn't sway around. You feel planted to the ground. You know, you feel low, but not to the point where you're scraping and bottoming out. Even though the windshield and the windows on the sides are pretty small, you do get a lot of visibility, I noticed. You know, I think it's because the window actually slopes down a lot that you're able to actually see the road in front of you. And the way I have my seat configured is my seat is all the way bottomed out at the very low setting. And the steering wheel, I usually keep it pretty forward and down. And the overall steering wheel and dash is below my eye level. So as I'm driving, I glance down to see, you know, all my information. A lot of cars, specifically sedans or coupes, even the M4 that I have, the dash actually sits pretty high up. So it does block a lot of the visibility, and I have a hard time seeing the road in front of me, so I have to really sit up to see. But with this car, I can sit very low and still have amazing visibility. The seating position is something that a lot of people talk about with Porsches being very proper, and I do feel that way as well. Same time, I do think I had to get used to it because I'm coming from driving Beamers where you're usually lower than the steering wheel, and the steering wheel is very high up. So with that, it's kind of, instead of feeling like this, I'm more so like this and more upright in this car, which does feel more proper, and I feel like I can focus better. My legs are very comfortable. It's a little bit bent. The steering wheel is right where my hands are at as I'm in the resting position with my arms. So I think Porsche really nailed it with, you know, the configuration of where the placement is. Now, of course, that really depends on your body size. You know, I'm 5'7", you know, that's my height, and everything kind of fits my body in this car. If you are someone that's taller or even shorter, you know, things could vary. You know, some people might find this car being too crammed. But honestly, for me, I think it's the perfect configuration for my body size. With this car only having 265 horsepower, it's not the fastest car. You know, when I really get on it, I don't really feel necessarily wowed. It is quick though, you know, it has a good amount of punch, and you know, the shifts are very instant with the PDK. You do have, you know, tuning options. You can do some bolt-ons and whatnot to, you know, amp up the horsepower levels, but for the most part, the car does feel very much so just tame. And I think that's one of the reasons why people don't like the Boxster. It's just because it's too normal of a car. You know, people kind of expect Porsche to have this reputation of being very sporty and race car vibes, which it is, you know. Porsche is a very, you know, sporty type of brand. But the Boxster wasn't targeted for that audience. You know, this was a car designed to be more sort of eco-friendly and more normal, so to speak, for your daily commuter, or just, you know, driving around town, running errands, getting groceries. Hence why you get more cargo space in this car. You get a front trunk and a rear trunk. So we're gonna be parking up right here, and yet again, this is the troublesome part where I have to really use my mirrors to see where I'm going. I'm definitely not aligned right now. This is pretty bad. And the visibility back here is absolutely garbage. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Okay, put it in park, we're good. I like that. The steering wheel moves out the way automatically. It kind of lifts up. That way you have more space to get in and out of the car. But yeah, I'm gonna go get some coffee and, you know, get some energy fueled up. And then we're gonna continue driving, and we're gonna hit the road. We're gonna try to find some back roads, some twisty roads to really explore and see how this car feels when you're really pushing it.